My girlfriend 22F says I don't love her because I can't afford more. You're a failure for not buying me jewelry. I'm at my breaking point after trying my best with flowers and dates. Now she keeps breaking down and all I feel is pain. Should I stay or go? This is not my first post regarding this relationship on this account, but it essentially reflects the title. No matter what I do, it never seems to be enough for my girlfriend. As I have increased my efforts, she has escalated the number of arguments and appears even more dissatisfied with me. I apologize for the lengthy post. I attempted to create a shorter summary, but even that is a bit long. Summary. I cannot handle my girlfriend's emotional breakdowns and her accusations that I do not love her enough or do enough for her. I put forth my best effort, regularly buying her flowers and her favorite drinks, picking her up from work and driving her to various locations. Yet the more I do, the more she tells me it is insufficient. She insists I should buy her more jewelry, clothing, a car, a house, and so on. Even if I wanted to purchase those things, I cannot afford to do so. Honestly, I feel disappointed in myself for the limited income I have been generating in my business, but I have been contributing 50% and taking her on dates. She is tired of waiting for me to succeed, despite the fact that I share the expenses. She refuses to acknowledge that her emotional breakdowns are problematic, insisting that all issues stem from me. Whenever she breaks down and weeps, claiming I hate her for not providing more, it is a reflection of my inadequacy in her eyes. I am hurt, in pain, and uncertain about how to move forward. Context. For context, we moved into a shared house about 8 months ago and spent 6 months living in a cramped bedroom. Those conditions were almost unbearable, and we fought frequently, but we both attributed our conflicts to the terrible living situation. In December, I secured a fantastic one-bedroom apartment in a prime location, at a good price, and in a nearly new building. We can no longer use the living conditions as an excuse, as this place has been our dream home for quite some time. We would often pass by and express how much we wish to live there. The first 2 months in the new apartment were challenging. She complained about the tiniest details, such as dishes and laundry, leading to arguments approximately twice a week. I had no issue with this since I recognized my need to improve in that area. Over the last 2 months, I have consistently worked on these issues within myself. Now she seems to have run out of things to nitpick. Despite my improvements, the arguments have not ceased. They have only intensified. Now she frequently tells me what a failure I am, how I do not love her enough, and how I do not provide adequately. She criticizes my income and claims I do not buy her enough. She expresses that she loves me too much because she feels she is giving more than I am. She does not appreciate the time I devote to her or the effort I invest in our relationship. She places value solely on the physical items I purchase for her and continually wants more. Finances. As an entrepreneur, my financial situation is currently suboptimal, so I must live frugally. I have not yet figured out how to generate consistent income. I may make a sale or two and then go a month or two without making any money, which is incredibly difficult. Despite this, I still contribute my fair share financially, and I am frankly tired of her reiterating how financially challenged I am. The rent is split 50-50. I cover the utilities, internet, and fuel costs. I own my own car and pick her up from work 2 to 3 times per week, as well as dropping her off at university and picking her up another 2 to 3 times per week. I purchased a Costco membership for us to save money, and our food expenses have been reasonable. When we go out on a date approximately once every month or every 2 weeks, I usually pay for most of it, although I often have to fight with her to do so, which is honestly exhausting. As for her, she takes care of the groceries since she enjoys cooking and prefers to use specific ingredients, which costs roughly the same amount as my share of utilities, internet, and fuel each month. She insists on dining out once a week despite my belief that we should not due to budget constraints, which I have communicated to her. She pays for our Sunday meals out because she strongly desires that experience. Gifts from me. I regularly buy her flowers when I pick her up. There are usually flowers on our table, so probably twice a month, depending on how quickly they wilt, and I try to treat her to her favorite boba tea relatively frequently. I also purchase gifts for special occasions, and often take her out on dates to celebrate milestones such as Valentine's Day and our anniversary. The crux of the issue. Essentially, she continuously asks me how long she must wait for me to achieve success since she wants me to buy her things, and I am apparently not doing enough for her at present. She often breaks down over what I consider trivial matters, like when we cannot visit every place she wants on a date or I do not take enough pictures. In these moments, she tries to inflict emotional pain on me. I strive to remain stoic and loving, yet I am deeply hurt by her words from last night. I won't go into detail, but she uttered many hurtful things, including her disappointment in our anniversary celebration. Last night she broke down again, the fourth time in 7 days, lamenting that she is waiting for me to earn money and that she wishes I would buy her more and care for her more. She stated, "And I know you will tell me that you do, that you buy me boba tea and flowers and such, but I want more." She equates the amount of money a man spends on his girlfriend with the depth of his love for her. At what point will she recognize what I do for her? That I genuinely care for her. I already pick her up, drop her off, buy her flowers, and attempt to take her out on dates at least once a month. I consistently buy her gifts for significant events. For example, I purchased her a monitor, keyboard, and mouse for her birthday. I genuinely want to care for her and do my utmost to convey my love for her at every opportunity. I grew up in a family where my parents seldom bought birthday presents and never went on dates or purchased gifts for each other. Consequently, I am not accustomed to someone demanding so much in a relationship. The other girls I have dated have never had such expectations. My friends' girlfriends appreciate the time spent together, and when I shared my girlfriend's desire for all these material possessions, they looked at me in disbelief and indicated that something is amiss. She often compares me to her friend's boyfriend who provides XYZ, but I am aware of that individual. He is an incredible entrepreneur and a friend of mine, earning over $40,000 per month. He is financially capable of spending several $1,000s monthly on his girlfriend without a second thought. Additionally, he is a few years older than I am. I am simply not in that position, unfortunately. Last night she mentioned how the guys on TikTok do ABC things that I do not. I responded, "You do realize that those videos are scripted, right?" She replied, "Yes, I know, but I still want that." My perspective. I am utterly exhausted. I dedicated the past year to working hard on a startup that ultimately failed. I now have some leads for contract and freelance work, which I am pursuing since I believe I can generate income with less risk. However, even if I began earning a substantial income, I doubt that would resolve the underlying issues. I learned long ago that material items will not fill the void in one's heart. If I buy her more gifts, what would prevent her from normalizing that and subsequently expecting even more later on? At this juncture, I genuinely contemplate taking a job in a different city and leaving. I am in pain and feel as if nothing I do will ever suffice. I have received an invitation to apply for a desirable position in another city, and this situation has made me seriously tempted to pursue it. She is genuinely a good person. She cooks for me and wants me to succeed. Our sex life is generally fulfilling. She enjoys buying me gifts, and I genuinely appreciate her attention to detail regarding my needs, such as when she purchased me a dash cam for our anniversary after I expressed a desire to obtain one. Yet she seems too naive and immature, and I believe I can no longer manage it. I do not think any reasonable adult would complain that their boyfriend regularly buys flowers, picks them up from work, drives them anywhere they wish to go, contributes 50%, purchases gifts for events, and takes them out on dates once or twice per month. I genuinely do not know what her expectations are. She consistently breaks down at night before bed, requiring hours of my consolation before she can sleep. This situation is affecting my productivity and overall well-being. It is disheartening that she never apologizes for anything. Even if I manage to convince her that she is partially at fault, she plays the victim and retorts with, "It's all my fault," to which I must respond, "No, babe, it's not," while she continues to cry. There is a great deal of trauma involved, and she has valid reasons for her reluctance to admit fault, given that her parents were physically abusive whenever she did something deemed wrong. Nevertheless, this does not change the fact that she constantly has emotional breakdowns, blaming me, and expects me to consistently console her until she feels as if I understand what I have done and how it has made her feel. I no longer want to take her on dates because she will always find some fault. She expressed her dissatisfaction with our anniversary date that I planned, stating it did not meet her expectations. She desired a fancy restaurant, even though I had reserved a nice restaurant that she enjoys, and when we arrived, she insisted on going for burgers instead, which we did. I truly do not know if I can endure this any longer. She is continuously wearing me down. It has been an entire year, and previously I could envision marrying her, as she is kind and compassionate, great with children, and cooks dinner, among many other positive traits. However, the other day, a vivid thought crossed my mind. I cannot marry someone who will keep demanding more and who will remain dissatisfied with anything I do. In the past, I believed she was somewhat emotionally unstable, yet she still respected me. Lately, however, I have felt disrespected and unappreciated, and I refuse to tolerate that. We have a signed lease with 9 months remaining, so I cannot simply leave. Moreover, I do not wish to abandon this apartment. I love it here, aside from the complications in our relationship. It seems that now that we have a solid lease and cannot blame external circumstances, she seeks to find faults with me, exploding in frustration and generally making my life unbearable. Questions advice requested. 1. Am I not doing enough in this relationship to meet her expectations? 2. Is this my fault because I am not making enough money? I continuously receive messages that I am inadequate due to my inability to generate sufficient income to buy her material items such as jewelry, a house, a car, clothing, etc. Perhaps that assertion holds some truth. 3. I am accustomed to being yelled at and subjected to tantrums directed at me. So I am uncertain whether this behavior is normal and something I should endure, or if it is a situation I should escape. Any assistance would be greatly appreciated. I apologize for the lengthy post. Story 2. My 28F girlfriend adopted a new dog, and after trying to help with aggression issues, I ended up in urgent care with 7 stitches. Instead of support, she accused me of having bad vibes and blamed me for getting bitten. Is this relationship even salvageable? To provide some background, my girlfriend and I have been dating for approximately 7 months, and for the most part, things have been going well. There have been moments that have frustrated me, but overall, it has been good until a couple of weeks ago. A few weeks ago, my girlfriend decided to adopt another dog. I had my reservations about this, but since she has her own home, I felt it was not my place to tell her it was a bad idea. I believed it might be unwise because her current dog has a history of aggressive behavior. When she adopted a kitten, she needed to keep it behind a baby gate for several weeks to a month due to the dog's prey drive. Eventually, they started to get along and it was fine. However, with the new dog, aggression appeared almost immediately. From the start, he growled at her and nipped at her a few times, and on one occasion, he even caused her to bleed by nipping her through a baby gate. The new dog was not house-trained and showed tendencies to chew on things and rummage through the garbage. Since I work in landscaping and have not been working much lately, I volunteered to help with the dogs. If I had not done this, her new dog would have been urinating and defecating all over her home. I believe it has always been her dream to have 2 dogs, so I really wanted to assist her in making that happen. For a while, things went smoothly and there was noticeable progress. During this time, I conducted extensive research on how to resolve the situation. I provided potty and obedience training to the new dog and improvements came quickly. I learned about parallel walking with dogs and wanted to implement it with both dogs. My girlfriend agreed, but throughout the entire process, she did not listen to me and resisted every step. The idea was to walk both dogs side by side at a reasonable distance, but she kept stating that the dominant dog needed to go first or other assertions that did not make sense. This genuinely frustrated me, but I decided to let it go, believing I could not assist someone who did not want help. Therefore, I chose to take a step back and simply feed the dogs and take them outside. She continued trying to push the dogs to bond, which led to several altercations between them. Throughout this process, she has been micromanaging me, persistently claiming that I have anxiety around the dogs that affects their behavior. While I admit to sometimes feeling hesitant, I took her comments into consideration and genuinely worked on my body language. I do not feel anxious around the dogs unless they display signs of aggression. At one point, we placed them together in the same room and they seemed to be getting along well. I truly believed everything was going to be fine. Any anxiety I had at that moment had dissipated. That day, I decided to go for a run while my girlfriend was napping. Nothing unusual occurred while I was gone, so I remained optimistic. After my run, I went upstairs to her bedroom to stretch, and her first dog followed me. The new dog also came upstairs, and I could immediately sense that the first dog was about to become aggressive due to his intense stare and stiffness. I maintained my composure, but I wondered if the first dog was being territorial because the new dog had not spent much time upstairs. He attacked her, and I intervened, ultimately getting bitten. I went to urgent care and received 7 stitches in my thumb. Up to this point, I still was not angry with my girlfriend or even the dog. The doctors even said they discarded the bite paperwork because I did not want the dog to be euthanized. After my visit to urgent care, my girlfriend took me out to dinner and indicated that she wanted me to participate in the decision-making regarding what to do next. I told her I was willing to continue working with the dogs, but I wanted to hear her thoughts. A day after the incident, she had not yet discussed her plans with me, so I decided to text her and ask. I expressed that I wanted her to hold the majority of the decision-making power, but that I would provide my honest opinion if she requested it. She then remarked, "So does that mean you have not been honest until now?" This frustrated me, but I clarified that this was not my intention and expressed my desire to know what she wanted. After this, she did not reply until she returned home from work. When she did, she barely acknowledged me and asked if I could go upstairs for a moment. I knew exactly what that meant. She remained convinced that I possess anxiety issues with the dogs, and that was her subtle test to determine if it was the cause. When we began discussing the situation, she suggested that my negative energy was detrimental to the atmosphere and that I should go home. I did not feel anxious whenever she instructed me to calm down, and she basically kept gaslighting me, claiming she could discern my anxiety from my body language. This infuriated me. Not only was she suggesting that I was the problem, but she implied I was to blame for getting bitten. Although she never explicitly stated this, her words certainly suggested it. She was unwilling to consider any alternative explanations for the aggression and failed to acknowledge that there could be other factors at play. I find this behavior extremely disrespectful and condescending. Yesterday, I returned home and have been trying to minimize contact until I find an appropriate time to share my thoughts with her. Honestly, I am unsure of what to do. The pattern of disrespect and invalidation is becoming overwhelming. I cannot remain in a relationship where the other person does not respect my feelings or opinions. Thank you for reading. Any advice would be appreciated.